so stoked to have Lisa here to help us with understanding why organizing your inner and outer world is so important, especially during a time of transition. And Lisa's background, well, I'm actually going to put it on you and just ask you just to give me a little bit of background in terms of what got you into Hotmess Organizing. What started all of this?
Well, it actually started years ago, about 10 years ago, but I actually honed in on what I wanted to do about 4.5 years ago. My grandfather passed away, and I was asked, because of my background and what I do, I was asked to go and help sort out the family household. Yeah. So I went there, and there was emotional attachment for me, but it was a different attachment for me as it was for their children, so my aunts and uncles and stuff. So I was able to go in and work with my grandma and help her sort through their life, and help her decide what she was going to take with her into the next part of her life. And then we also were having an estate auction, so deciding what was going to go in the estate auction, and then deciding which really didn't have any value at this point for her or for the estate auction. So wow. What we were sending away.
Sounds like that must have been really hard, especially for your grandma, to go through that. And it's probably something very common for people to have a hard time separating from 50 years or more of their life, you know? So how did you find that for yourself? Like, was that easy, difficult for you to do that for your family?
It was, there were times where it was tougher than others, yeah. Right? Depending on what you're going through. But for me, I was just happy that I could do it for her and I could help her through it, because she was dealing with, she just lost her husband of 66 years. Her life was changing all the way around. Her home was going to change now. She didn't have her partner with her anymore. So the fact that I could help her through that was so wonderful. And it was something that my aunt or my mother couldn't. It was too emotionally charged for them.
For them, yeah.
So I kind of came in. I was still emotionally attached, but less so.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and you had a little bit of an arm's length there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So... yeah, this is stuff you've collected over the years. We work hard for our money, and, we purchase things along the way. And now at the end of it, you're left with really just stuff.
And wow, generationally speaking, that generation really held on to, from my experience anyways, held on to a lot of things, because my grandparents were, after the war, they were going through a lot of scarcity. So yes. My grandma held on to every freaking ribbon from every gift, every paper mm-hmm. that the gift came in. She held on to everything. So I can't even imagine how invaluable you would have been to our family when we were going through all of this stuff to get her downsized.
Right. Well, they lived through the Depression.
That's just it.
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely a different mindset that they had. Mm-hmm. But, usually when they come to that part in their life, they're at different stages, and realize, right? One part is realizing that all this 50 years is not going to fit in where you're going next.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Amazing. So you essentially, with Hotmess, you work with people of all generations, not just that particular generation, to help them go through some of the major transitions in their life. So I think I've read, whether they're welcoming a new child into their life, they're getting ready in their new house for a baby, maybe their second or third baby, whether that is transitional changes like the elderly downsizing into a smaller residence or even old age home. What other big transitions can you think of that
they don't even really need to be big? When we're talking about children, it could be they're going from before school age to school age, right? Some systems need to change within your household, within your life to accommodate. Right now, they've got homework, so they need a homework place set up. Or your child's now left, right? Now, what are you going to do with that spare bedroom? Anything like that. Or, it can be as simple as, we tend to use up space, if there's a space unoccupied, we will put something there.
Yes.
Right? Like think of when you come home with the mail on your counter, it just always goes there. And then all this stuff, I mean, the mail goes there and then you get something else and you're like, oh, I just put it there. I don't know what to do with it. So It can really be, it's really from one scope to the other.
Right. So what would, so if it doesn't have to be necessarily big changes, what would be one of the triggers people would notice that would trigger them or could trigger them to go, I need to rearrange or reorganize my space?
Well, I think as women, right, where we're constantly evolving and we're always trying to become the better us, right, who we were meant to be. So in that process, we always look to, we're always reading books that will feed our soul, and we're always doing all these things. We're taking courses that will better us at whatever time in life we're at. And when you're going through that process, there comes a point when you're doing all the emotional work on yourself that you can't go any farther because your physical space has become a crutch. So your physical space used to suit you at one time, but now you've done all this internal work, all this emotional, intuitive work. Now you need to make your surroundings fit what you're now creating.
Totally get that.
Yeah.
If I can just share one example of that, on my personal experience with that was when I came to the space to the point that I realized I needed a meditation every day. It became one of those things for me that I realized we have a beautiful home and very spacious, but I didn't feel like there was one space that was just my sanctuary where I could go to without having to always close the door or something, a space that was set up basically that I could just go to and meditate. And it was actually Carrie who pointed that out to me. She said, you need to create a space that is yours, just yours. And so I went and I reorganized the house in furniture and spatial where we were as well, to accommodate that. So that's a great example. So much inner work is done, but if the outer work doesn't match, we need to do something about that too.
Right. And in regards to your meditation room, I mean, we can kind of set it up, but you really have to go all in or not. Because if you were to set up that meditation room and then you go in to take the time for yourself, and then maybe you don't have the essential oils or whatever you require, then you have to leave the room to go get the oils. And then it's like, oh, somebody else needs your time. And we're used to putting everybody else before us. Right?
Totally true.
So having everything that you require in that space for that meditation room, you're in there, you're doing it, and you're going to take care of yourself. There's no excuses.
No excuses. And you get it right every time.
Yes. Yes.
Because, you didn't forget this, and this, and this. You have your heater there, you have your blanket there, you know exactly where everything's at.
I have 30 minutes, and now I'm down to 15.
That's totally true.
So,
it is so true. Another area where I could think of this really becoming a very obvious choice is with your closet, because as people gain weight or lose weight or transition just into, like when I switched from corporate to being on my own, my outfits, my clothing changed, and so I literally got rid of just about 80% of my closet. It was scary as hell.
Good for you.
It was scary because I was like, what am I going to wear? And lo and behold, I found stuff to wear,
Well, in the closet, right, it's the 80-20 rule, right? We wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time.
Wow. So we have 80% of our clothes hanging there that doesn't serve us. Yeah. So crazy. Just taking up space. Right? And it's not just physical space. It then works into our emotional space, right?
It does. We all have that spare room, right? Where things you don't know where to go, it goes. So every time you walk by there, it's like anxiety now.
Yeah. So or that pair of jeans hanging in your closet that doesn't fit anymore, but you just don't want to let it go because someday, and then every morning when you get ready, you see the jeans.
And if you lose the weight, you get to go buy a new pair of jeans.
Yes, I completely agree.
I mean, if you put the work in, just take care of yourself. So
that is so important. And I love what you do to help support people go through some of these transitions. What are some of the surprises that people have when they hire you, and then you help them through these steps. Have you noticed anything where people go, wow, I wasn't expecting that? Or
well, I think the awareness around our stuff is a big thing for people. We get so caught up in the to-do lists and the work tasks and all that kind of stuff that we really don't sit down and look into the things that are around us, right? On a real deep level. Mm-hmm. So working with clients, we'll be talking about something and they'll pick it up and they'll be like, oh, I can't get rid of this. And I'll be like, well, why? Tell me about it, right? And I want to hear their story.
Yes.
And then when they're able to, sit down and tell me about this item, right? Yeah. This memorabilia, we can talk about, oh, well, when was the last time you used it? What do you feel? Like, does this item bring you joy? Yeah. And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, actually, this gives me a lot of anxiety when I think about this, right? So a lot of times it's in the memorabilia, right? So for me, my grandma used to crochet and knit all the time. Yeah. And she used to make these dolls, and it was a beautiful doll but it's just not my generation type of thing. Yeah. But she made it, and she made one for me. And so I kept it, and it sat up in my closet. And, sitting with that, I realized I'm holding on to this for no reason other than out of my feeling of obligation to my grandma, because she spent the time on it. Yeah. But it's not being shown. I'm not putting it out. It will never go out in my home. Yeah. And looking at it and going, this doesn't hold the love for my grandma or her for me. Right? So those are kind of things that people go, oh, yeah. Or maybe it was something that was valuable to them when they purchased it, and maybe for a couple of years after. And now whatever they're creating for themselves, it doesn't serve a purpose or hold value for them anymore. So they're like, oh, I thought I loved and needed this thing, and now when we're talking about it, I actually don't. Yeah. So we can let that go. Yeah.
Totally. And what about items that you might have received from people that are no longer in your life? And every time you look at them, you think of this person subconsciously sometimes, most of the time, but it does evoke that inner feeling that you spoke of earlier, that inner anxiety that or stressor, every time you walk by that room, or every time you look at that item, or or that guilt every time you look at that doll. So it's so important to spend a little time with those things.
Yeah, surround yourself with things that bring you joy, right? Don't put stuff around you that's going to make you think about those bad experiences or guilt, or which we're very good at, or anything like that. If it doesn't bring you joy, it's got to go.
I completely agree. So we, I had asked Lisa to put together maybe 5 steps of going through this transition.
So the first step is recognizing, right, that there's a need to do something with the space around you. Yeah. Right. So, a lot of us, sometimes we can walk through with blinders and thinking that it doesn't affect us, but being able to recognize that, okay, this is something that needs to happen, and I need to put some attention here.
Yes.
So the step 1 is recognizing.
Yeah. So recognizing could be anything like, my husband looking at the same thing every day, and it annoys him and it bothers him, and he thinks, I need to do something about it. Like, that's something that would be a recognition cue where you go, I need to make some time, and I need to do something about that.
Right. If it invokes any of those feelings, the overwhelm, the frustration, the guilt, and all that kind of stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I call those energy leaks.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. I have a hole in my pocket in my jacket, and it just, it's one of those things. Every time I reach in my pocket, that is the hole that meets me, and I need to do something about that. So that's recognizing.
Yes. Right. Do it now. Yeah. Or put it on a list so that you remember to do it. Yeah.
Beautiful. What would be step number 2?
And then step 2 is actually getting into it. So the decluttering and the purging aspect of it is step 2. So,
and I think maybe making an assumption here, but is this where most people basically come to a halt?
Yes, because the overwhelm gets in, right? So they decide that this is what I need to do, and then they get into their space, and then maybe they work for, maybe they're a trooper and they get a couple hours in, and then it just becomes too much, right? They're looking at the whole job as opposed to just one little piece. Right. And then a lot of people will back out and go, I can't handle this right now. And then it'll be a couple months before they, again, recognize it needs to be done and then decide to get in. So
do you have any tips for that on how people can push past that overwhelm?
So there's a couple things. It didn't get like this overnight. So it's not going to get fixed overnight. So you need to be patient with yourself and you need to be kind to yourself. That negative talk we have, that will stop us in our tracks.
Yes.
So making it as good of an experience as you can in doing it. So, take some time, grab a tea, maybe a glass of wine, and then sit down and don't look at, if you're doing your office, don't look at the whole office. Maybe take the filing cabinet and decide I'm going to take the top drawer and I'm going to do half.
Yeah.
Or, I'm going to do the business end of things and I'm going to do those files only.
Yeah.
And set a time, right? Shut out anything else off, right? Any cell phones, anything like that, because it'll be so easy to have the phone ring and pick it up and then you're out of it again.
Yes.
So,
because you do go into a zone, don't you, when you do this type of thing?
Yeah. And if you take a call to get back into it, if you do get back into it, it's going to take you 10 minutes just to get your mind and your emotional state back where you were in it. So just take it bit by bit. Don't take a look around you and go, oh my gosh, just take one piece at a time.
One piece at a time.
Set a timer and say, I'm going to do this for an hour and stop. If you feel really good and you want to keep going, then set the timer again. But if you're starting to feel, the tight chest, anything like that comes up, let it go for the day and then go back tomorrow and start where you left off.
And would you say it's fair to say to start maybe with one of the rooms or one of the areas in your house that are easier than others? So maybe not starting with the memory box or the photos or something like that.
Yeah, good point. Definitely don't start where all the emotions are attached.
Yeah.
Start somewhere. Well, shoes aren't a good place to start for women either.
That's true. That's very true.
We're all a little bit different, but start somewhere that's you're like, it's become a bothersome part of your life. Yeah. And you just haven't had the time to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be as easy as pens. Right? We all seem to collect a bunch of pens. So for me,
desk is full of them.
I don't write with black. It's just I don't know what it is. I don't write with black and I write in certain pens. So get rid of any pens that you're not going to write with.
Yeah. Always remember, get rid of what doesn't bring you joy. So if you don't like that ballpoint pen, like I don't like the blue ballpoint, because they're so hard on my hands. Don't like them. All I own now is gel pens. Yeah,
because you would just pick it up to write. And if you had to write with it, it's always in your head that you're writing with this pen you don't like. Whereas if you pick a pen up, that all you have is pens that you love to write with, then it's just, it's joy from the beginning to end.
And that's so, so important, especially as we are, for women, especially for us women. It is so important to bring joy back into our lives. That's where everything starts and ends, is if we don't have the joy. So if we can create this joy through things like this, then that's one step closer. We don't have to work so hard at it, right?
Yes.
Very cool. Something came up, but it was a fleeting thought. So continue on and I'll think back on it.
So that would be the decluttering part of it, right? And, asking questions when you're going through stuff. When was the last time I used this? Yeah. Right? If it's 6 months, it can go. If you've been in the house for 2 years and it's still in a box, it's, it probably can go. So
very true. Especially for clothes too, right? Like how many items have you never worn or you just don't want to get rid of it, but the last time you wore it was 10 years ago.
Right? Or you bought something that you loved.
Yeah.
And it's still in your closet with the price tag on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get rid of it.
Let it go.
Let it go.
And then that brings us into step number 3 is the awareness part of it. So, starting with the easy stuff. Pens, there's going to be nothing around it for most of us anyways.
Yeah.
But when you get into the awareness part of it, right? When you're able to work through those couple of things that when you start, so you've done the pens, you've done the next thing, and then you start to get into something that kind of pings a little bit of emotion. There's some attachment there, and you're right away, no, I can't get rid of that. Being able to sit with that and why is that? Mm-hmm. What does this bring up for me? Again, when was the last time I used this? Do I have anything else that serves the same purpose? Mm-hmm. And do I need 2 or 18 of them?
Right.
Right. But once you start looking into the awareness of things, it will get easier as you go along. So like the memorabilia stuff, leave till the very end, till you've honed these skills. So when you're looking at these items that carry less sting to them, you can go, oh, I kept this because my friend bought it for me and she thought it was really nice. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't really use it. She bought it for me 3 years ago, mm-hmm. and maybe I don't drink that tea anymore, right. Or whatever else, right? She's not going to be upset that you're letting it go, but you're hanging on to it for some attachment there. So yes, being able to identify the awareness, identify the attachment, why the attachment's there, what the value is in that attachment, and if it's still valid.
Very, very, very good. And having perhaps maybe that's your last point, having perhaps, I find sometimes easier to let go of things when I know where they're going to. So maybe throwing them out is exactly why I can't let go of them. Like books, for example, is a big one for me. I can't throw out books. Can't do it. So my bookshelf may be full of books that I haven't read or don't use anymore, but I just haven't found a legitimate way of disposing or, recycling them. Yeah, you're not alone. Mm-hmm. Books are a big one for a lot of people because there was joy for you when you read the book. Mm-hmm. There was a purpose for you to purchase that book. That is the next step. So step 4 is letting go, right? Once you've gone through, you've decluttered, you've recognized the awareness on them, and now you've decided, okay, this doesn't serve me anymore. It needs to go, right? Mm-hmm. There's no putting it in your car and driving around with it for 4 weeks, right? Because then it's easier to bring it in, right? Don't put it in a box in your garage or by the front door. Let it go. Take it away, right? Yeah. And there's many different things you can do, right? So in case of the books, a lot of people do that. We're like, I don't want to really give this up, right? And so you can donate books, which for some people that's like, right? So you can donate them to the Salvation Army. Women in Need take books as well. But there's also a Fair's Fair that you can take books to, and then they give you a credit. So you can actually purchase new books or other books. Very cool. I see. I don't want to get into the books thing too much, but that is like, I thought with all the digital books and you can buy a book on Amazon for $12 now, it just makes it that whole, remember when on the Sunday market, there was always this one lady that had like a big book stand, that just doesn't exist anymore. And so I've just really struggled with finding an outlet for where to bring the books. But speaking to your point about letting it go, having a system in place before you start of how to dispose of, like how to get it out of your house is really important, because you go through so much emotional, through such an emotional journey to put this stuff in a bag or in a box. And then you have it sitting in your car or in your garage for months, maybe even years. Yeah, it happens all the time. I'm guilty of that. Yeah. So what I've done last time with my books, especially because that is such a hard piece for me, is I put them in a box and then I asked my husband to take care of it. I just said, you need to take them out of it. Because he has no emotional attachment to it. So for him, it was no problem to just go and take them. That's some great awareness, right? Yeah. You know that you can't. Yeah. You're ready to let them go, but you know that you physically cannot walk them out of the house. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, there's a lot of different places to give them. We were up at the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and I had some puzzles. We did puzzles at Christmas, and I had some puzzles, and I was like, trying to figure out what I was going to do with it. And when my grandma went for tests, we went into this family room and they had puzzles. We sat there, the 4 of us, and did puzzles So brilliant, because what else do you do when you're sitting in the hospital waiting for anything, really?
Yeah. So, and to that point, puzzles at, any adult assisted facilities as well as books. They read all the time. So, well,
thank you for that tip. I think that was super, super valuable right there, because, I think a lot of people struggle with giving it to just having a new life for these items rather than throwing them out, right?
Right. We actually just dealt with a woman that we went through her freezer, and she, a bunch of freezer burnt food. We all, I'm sure, do. Yeah. And it was the whole thing like, well, I bought this, and I have to, there's people starving in the world. What do we do with it? We were actually able to give it to a animal shelter.
Nice.
Right?
Because so it still got used. Yeah.
So
brilliant.
Then it was easier to let go of it. And because she knew it was going to go to feed some puppies.
I can completely relate to that, because I'm all about practicality. Like, yes. I find it really difficult to waste anything, and often to my own demise, because I'll eat that last piece of cake and I'll have that last glass of wine.
Just so it's not wasted. Yeah, I hear you. That's my excuse, anyways. When it's chocolate, I'm in. There's no leftovers.
That's just it. So it's super, super, super valuable, Lisa, because I feel one of the biggest pieces that we haven't mentioned is that if you are going through a transition like this, whether it's small or big, there is always someone there who can actually help you with some of these steps. You don't have to do it alone. And one of the biggest things us women do so often is we think independence means we have to do it alone. And that is just simply not true. So I would encourage every one of you that if anything in this talk Lisa and I had sparked some curiosity or interest, or I really need to deal with my basement, or I really need to deal with that room, to take some action and legitimately call Lisa, have her come over, help you with maybe even just the beginning steps. I mean, you do the full spectrum, but you can also do just aspects of it to help them get started.
Yeah,
am I right?
We can consult with you and just guide you in the right way to go.
Yeah.
So I think, and as important as all these other steps is step number 5 is to celebrate, right? Remember when you're letting go of things, right? Honoring that they did serve a purpose at one time. So honoring what that item or items had done for you and letting them go with that. And then celebrate, right? Go for a massage, go for a night out with some girlfriends, or a family weekend even, or an afternoon.
Yeah.
Celebrate what you've done. I mean, it's not easy. It is not easy to sort through that and to work through all that emotional stuff. But let me tell you, you start getting rid of one thing and 2 things, it gets easier, and you start feeling your shoulders drop. Yeah. It's just like a weight's lifted off of you.
Yes, it physically and literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And I would encourage you to not celebrate by going and buying some stuff.
I was just going to say that. So I'm going to go and buy a new outfit.
Experiences, not stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
well, it's a good point, because as you're going through this decluttering and detaching from items, it also probably provokes a lot of thinking around, why are you doing this in the first place? And what is it that you're looking to grow into? So whether that is that you are, like I did, changing my closet because if I recognized that just wasn't the person anymore that I wanted to be. I wanted to be more of a jeans and t-shirt kind of gal, and a new fashion that supported my truer self. And whether that is that you are creating a sanctuary in your house, that is all important when you are then celebrating, or when you're not beyond the celebrating, when you are repurchasing, new things. Keep that in mind. Does this truly bring me joy? And stop bringing stuff in your house that doesn't. So even for gift ideas, when your birthday comes up or Christmas, you can in advance pre-plan this and let your family know, no gifts this year, or let's do a donation to a charity or something like that instead. Or if you're like me, being the practical me that I am, inevitably the family asks, what do you want? I do think of a few items that we would like to have.
Yeah.
And I just put them out there and I say, like, you don't, I'm no obligation, but this is something that we're looking into buying. Maybe you want to help out with that.
Yeah. That's great. Definitely. And, memories last longer than any physical stuff out there. I started taking my children on a holiday for their birthdays and Christmas gifts combined. They still get the stuff that they need, like the socks and stuff they don't like to get. But, they can't tell you what I got them, 7 years ago for Christmas, but they can tell you every holiday we took. So it's definitely the experiences.
I agree.
And moving towards that is definitely
I love experiences. That's what my husband and I do most of the time. Is just experiences versus gifting.
Yeah, they mean so much more.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. So you still buy your daughter's socks?
I'm
just teasing you. You're right. That is always the one thing that, what's funny is that's the one thing that I never liked getting, but once it stopped and I was responsible for buying my own socks, I realized I never had any socks in the house because
I know.
I just always forgot to buy them.
But, stockings are supposed to be fun to open up. Yeah. My kids are like, Mom, I got toothbrush, toothpaste, socks. It's not fun. Yeah.
No, it's not, but practical.
Stuff they use.
That's right.
They better use anyways.
I love it. Can we go back to the celebrating for just a minute? What are some of the things that your clients celebrate, how they celebrate, and do they set it up before they start, or do they set it up as they're going? Yeah.
So when I work with people, I ask a lot of questions, right? Because I want to know, why did this space get like this? Because I want to make sure that we create systems that enable it to not get like that away again. And in that discovery part, you really learn a lot about a person. And we set up mini goals, and then we set up little celebration pieces.
Celebration is super important. And what you do is you throughout your discovery process or learning about these people, you actually help them identify how they can celebrate make this really celebratory. Do you find that the celebration really kind of seals the deal, and it just makes them actually stick to the program, if you will, longer?
It does, yes. So I always say after every session with me, there's homework, and the homework is some sort of the celebrating portion of it, right? Yeah. You need to do something to honor the work you've done, right? It's not easy to go through that. So honor what you've done, honor that you've been through some emotional turmoil today, and to honor that. Take care of yourself some way. There's got to be a self-care portion in that, to take care of yourself and to go, I killed that. I rocked that. Yeah. And to take care of it. And if it's going and purchasing a couple outfits, then I certainly get to see the outfits the next time that we meet. So
yes,
it's
but you're only allowed to buy new outfits if you got rid of 4 outfits.
Oh well, we do have rules, and the rules are specific to what's going in, what's going out. We do have specific rules. So,
that's so cool. I think it goes right back to the awareness piece. I think the whole process, Lisa, is something that once you went through that and you've walked, like you've gone through every step of that, you probably are more mindful going forward with every purchase, whether it's a book or whether it's clothes or furniture or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, the awareness package is, okay, does this item bring me joy right now because I'm having a bad day? Maybe my kids have ticked me off, or my husband, right? Is this just giving me joy because I'm in a slump? Or is this something that's actually going to bring me joy tomorrow, next week? So yes, going through the process of the purging and decluttering, it creates those questions when you're purchasing something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the full awareness. I loved this conversation, and I'm just blanking at my notes because one of the reasons why this was such a big piece for me in my transition from, I don't want to say old Yvonne. I'm still the same Yvonne. It's just in my growth, as who I want to be and how I want to show up. And most importantly, what I was always, what I'm always looking for is the freedom piece. What brings me freedom? What brings me closer to just that feeling of tranquility and peace every day. And having my space a certain way and not having to look at that, ding in the wall, or, that light fixture I hate, or, that pair of jeans that I haven't fit into in 10 years or whatever it may be, was such a freeing piece for me to finally let go of that. And I did it with the help of Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which was super helpful for me. But I can definitely see how, especially people that have never done any decluttering in their lives, how they could most definitely benefit from having a helping hand quite physically there with them in this process. And I think that's why what you do is so valuable for people. And whether they're going, like you said, through small transitions or big transitions in their life, it just helps to know someone else has your back.
Yes.
Or someone else can help you with a decision when you just can't make that decision,
Right.
So I think it's fantastic what you do, Lisa, and I wish you so much success with your ongoing message to change the world one closet at a time, one bedroom at a time, whatever the trend is at the moment. What is the trend at the moment? Is it mainly closets or is it mainly bedrooms?
I do a lot of kitchens.
Kitchens?
I do, because that's where stuff just sits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So.
Yeah. Behind the cupboard door. Once it's locked away, I don't see it. It never really is in my face. So.
Yeah. Or just on countertops.
On countertops. Are you looking at mine right now?
I'm not. There's nothing. There's nothing on her countertop. No, I do a lot of countertops and closets.
Yeah.
It's easy to start there.
Yeah. Fantastic. So just to reiterate, Lisa is here for you if you are moving, if you're welcoming a new member to your family, if you are if you're downsizing,
yes.
Whether you're helping your parents downsize or you're downsizing, or whether you are in the leap and you are going through this exercise that we're going to be going through that is all about taking a really close look at your environment. And if it is in alignment with the person that you're working towards being, then definitely give Lisa a call. I will post your contact information on the bottom of this video, but also they can find you on your website, hotmess.com.
Hotmessorganizing.com.
Hotmessorganizing.com. So make sure you check out what Lisa has to offer. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to be here and to help us through this.
Thank you.
Tough subject.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. As always, the best conversations happen after the episode on yvonnewinkler.com/The Freedom Seeker Show. So go there, leave a comment, and let me know what resonated most with you and why. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our email list and become a Freedom Seeker Insider. You will get instant access to an audio I created called The 5 Steps to a Freedom Life, as well as some special content, exclusive giveaways, and some personal updates from me that don't share anywhere else except maybe texting my BF.